Hello. How's everyone? Welcome to what my colleagues are politely calling the graveyard shift. So I thank you all for coming. Okay, oh, there we go. Sound, I'll start again. Thank you for what my colleagues are kindly referring to as the graveyard shift. Actually, when we were planning the schedule, we were supposed to be on after the Prime Minister. And I thought it'd be the only time in my life where I'd be able to say that Justin Trudeau was my warm-up act, but alas, it didn't happen. Anyway, as with all the other tracks, please submit your questions via the app. You just need to open it on your mobile device, select the Q&A module, enter the event code, use code UNITE, and then select Track 2 Scaling. Please submit some hard questions, because the panelists are quite worried about what you might ask, so please do submit those. How many people here in the room were in San Francisco last April? Yeah, a few of you. It was an interesting day. I think it was April 17th last year, and I'd just ridden a shuttle bus to Fort Mason with the man in camo, who seemingly has spawned a small army of people in camo at this Unite, Kurt Elster. When we got off the bus, there was a little murmurings that something wasn't quite right, and it turned out that the power had actually gone off in the venue. Now, you can plan for many things in events, but power outages is not one that I'd ever come across before. But as it turned out, there was power out across San Francisco and the Bay Area, which you don't realize how much it affects. Like, obviously, you can't go in the venue for health and safety reasons. Your cell towers aren't working. And it kind of forced us into a very interesting situation where we had to congregate and we had to talk. But you'd think people would be annoyed, upset, thousands of dollars spent to come hear all the latest announcements from Shopify. But hundreds of people stood. Cold beers were conjured up from somewhere within the building, food. People made friends, chatted with new friends, chatted with old friends, made deals and made futures. And not one person came up to me during that day upset or annoyed. I often get asked, what is community in my role at Shopify? What is the Shopify community? It's a very hard question to answer. It's very ephemeral. But on that day, the 21st of April last year, I believe we saw the physical manifestation of it. Hundreds of people brought together, sharing a common interest and a common goal. I worked on the partnerships team for a number of years before moving to the offline marketing team. And we invested firsthand into this ephemeral idea of community, and we saw it pay huge dividends. By bringing people together, online and off, around a common theme, can propel us all to greatness. It can push Shopify forward, and in turn, it can help you all grow your businesses. We focused heavily on education, helping partners improve their skills. But we placed the bet that those doing the work, people in this room, you, are the best sources of truth on how to succeed. After all, we're not at the coalface. We invited many of you to contribute to our partner blog, share your lessons in our webinar series, speak at events like A Day with Shopify, which we took on the road last fall. And of course, there's the meetup series. Last year alone, 120 partner-led meetups happened, and I'm pretty sure we're going to eclipse that this year. But we aren't the only ones to invest in the idea of community to push ourselves forward. Many of you here today are doing very, very similar things, from content to books to meetups to full-scale conferences and beyond. So we thought it'd be a great idea to discuss the power of community, unpack this notion of what it is, how it helps businesses, and why you would actually do it yourselves. So I'd love to introduce my panel, Jonathan, Kelly, and Chathri. Welcome. So clearly we don't work in project management because we're not all in black, which is a start, but anyways. Just take a couple of minutes, John, to introduce yourself and explain a little bit about what you do in terms of community.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I run a service company called HeyCarson.com, at HeyCarson.com. It's a small task service for merchants. And we also run a platform called StoreTasker, which is also a service platform. And I drive a lot of the recognition for these brands through a Facebook group at Shopify Entrepreneurs. And so I'm here to share a little bit about that today.
My name is Kelly. I co-own and run a digital agency, The Working Party, in Melbourne with my husband. We are a Shopify Plus partner. We specialize in design, development, migration, and strategy. And so in partnership with Disco, who are another Shopify Plus partner, we organise the Melbourne merchant meetups and also the merchant developer meetups, or the Shopify developer meetups.
And I'm Chathri Ali. I head up growth at Recharge Payments. We're based in Santa Monica, California. Came all the way to Toronto. Happy to be here. And basically, in terms of growth, we do sales, partnerships, and marketing. And then for those of you who don't know Recharge, we are a subscription billing platform solely for Shopify merchants, and we work with over 10,000 of them today.
Brilliant. Why don't we start with you? And tell us a little bit about the specific community activities that you do. I know you started in London with some of the meetups there, the Shopify meetups, and Rob working on those. But you've expanded into bigger and smaller events. So why don't you explain a little bit about your motivation for doing that?
Yeah, so we've only really been around since 2015. I say only because it's 3 years, but we've done a ton since then. And it started out very small. It was myself and one of our partnerships leads here, Rob Barr. And it started very organically. And it could be as simple as drinks at the pub in London, all the way to a meetup at our office in Santa Monica, again, organically with a bunch of merchants in Los Angeles. Since then, we've evolved to doing more. So we've partnered a lot with the Plus Partners team to do events around the country. We've actually gone internationally to Australia. So in terms of the last 3 years, we've just dedicated more time to events and partnerships.
What was the driver for that? Why bother?
Honestly, there's a lot of upside. So we don't know everything, number one. So we took a lot of cues from Shopify in general. So we've actually worked a lot with Joel Bronkowski back in the day, met his team, and saw kind of the positive benefits of like working with the partner community. For him, bringing us within the Shopify community, introducing us to merchants. So for us, working with other partners, oftentimes the benefit can be just geographic reach, right? We're in Santa Monica. We actually had, at one of our events last summer, Klaviyo flew out from Boston. So in terms of geographic reach, that was great for them to meet with merchants in the LA area, which we all know is great for e-commerce. And likewise, we'll go into New York, and we don't have a huge stronghold there. And there's tons of our partner agencies who have experience, have the depth of their own contacts, and then we get plugged in there. So the benefit, honestly, is geographic reach. Obviously, in terms of Plus deals, we often partner together on Plus deals with tech partners, also agency partners, and honestly, that comes from knowing the right person. So putting yourself out there.
So you're searching for both potential people to collaborate with and also merchants as well, right?
Exactly.
So John, you run out of the three people here, you're more online than offline.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to start the Facebook group, which he told me backstage has over 80,000 members as of today?
Yeah, so it's a pretty vibrant community online. I have a lot of respect for people who can run offline events. I think I'm not good at that. I actually started the community on Facebook as a merchant. I was one of those lonely merchants who started a store, and I wanted to connect with other people. I realized quickly that I wasn't that great of a merchant, and I saw the opportunity to help a lot of people with a service business. So it started off as just like a lunchroom, and it ended up being something that really powered my brands, my service brands. And we started that 3 years ago, and it's been such an interesting experience because a lot of people now think that we kind of drive business from it, but what really happens in that group is I drive partnerships. So we have a lot of partnerships with other Shopify experts, and that's what's really the big benefit for us. Yeah.
When did you realize that it wasn't just an opportunity to chat with like-minded merchants? When did you realize that it was taking on a bit more of an influential role in your business?
Maybe when Toby and Harley joined the group. No.
Harley just favorites everything.
Yeah, he just there's a fist pump. That's makes my day. But yeah, it just started to pick up. Like Facebook groups 3 years ago were just kind of getting going. So I think Facebook was actually putting in, trying to drive people into groups. So we just kind of rode that wave. And I think naming the group helped because we called it Shopify Entrepreneurs. So that kept the scope very wide. Yeah.
So you get a mix of merchants and service agencies and partners?
Yeah, absolutely. A good mix of experts, partners, would-be wannabe store owners that are kind of just feeling out the space, and a lot of merchants. A lot of merchants with a lot of problems looking for help. And not only an opportunity for us, but it's an opportunity for all experts to get involved in the community and build their authority through it. So.
And do you help those new members identify themselves in one of those buckets, or how do you shepherd that?
Yeah, it's tricky now. Like, Facebook groups are not built for thousands of people. I think they're very good for like under 10,000 people, and so it's been tricky to identify people. We just let everybody in, and whoever wants to contribute like value is welcome to. And I think merchants get a lot of value connecting with experts and partners get business from it. And that kind of was the seed for StoreTasker, which is basically earning revenue from these connections.
Right.
So yeah.
In contrast, Chathri does a lot of dinners and smaller events. You seem to have run a conference-sized meetup down under, attracting enviable numbers every quarter.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the background to why you started that and how it's progressed and kind of blown up in the last few months.
Yeah, I definitely think our meetup has grown significantly in size. So a couple of years ago when we were first doing it, it was probably 40, 50 people. We currently cap RSVPs closer to 400, and we have struggled to find spaces that can accommodate that kind of a meetup size, and I think we're probably now one of the biggest meetups in Melbourne. But I feel like what we sort of did differently to other people was really elevated the quality of the event. So we took on a major sponsor partner at a higher level than other people had done in the community. And so we really produced a quality event with we just tried to lift the level of it. So we had better food, better drinks, better venues, and more recently, I think what we've really done is lifted the speaker quality. So recently we've had Facebook speak, we've had Snapchat speak. So it's really, and especially informative stuff for the Shopify community because they want to have contact with those people and they can't get it anywhere else.
Tell me a bit more about why you started it. I mean, obviously, we've heard like online and Chathri's as well, but what was your principal driver? Why? I'll ask you the same question. Why bother?
I think it's a couple of things. I mean, I really feel like as a business, we've been working with the platform for so long. We wanted to share some of the learnings that we had sort of come across along the way. I think as well, to Jonathan's point, as a merchant, it can actually be quite a lonely pursuit. And I think a lot of people, where there's good content and there's good networking opportunities, which we try to provide for as well, I think people definitely want to get out there and talk to other people who are in the same situation. And I think now being a Plus partner as well, we usually deal with very big businesses, but it is refreshing to get back out there and deal with people and almost a little bit selfishly feed off that enthusiasm of people who are just starting and they have such a huge passion around what they're doing and so much energy for it. Whereas usually when you're dealing with bigger companies, there's a bit of bureaucracy, or even within your own business, you're a bit, like there are challenges consistently. But if you're just starting your company, you've just designed something or you've just, made a product that you're starting to sell online, there's so much passion at that level that it's refreshing.
You run two distinct meetups now. You started with the merchant-focused one, and you also run, do you call it the developer meetup? Or
a partner meetup. Yeah, for developers and other agencies.
So why double the work? What benefits do you get from doing two?
I think the developer meetup was a bit of an idea sort of generated between Gavin and Carl because they saw an opportunity within the community in Australia, especially in Melbourne. Like we have a bunch of agencies and it was a good opportunity as well to sort of build that relationship with other partners and also sort of build the knowledge base and network with, like-minded people, I guess. And there's a lot of people in Melbourne doing interesting things. So we've had great speakers we've had theme developers, we've had brands come and speak, we've had UX experts, and obviously as well, the founders of the Working Party and Disco talk at those events as well.
Do those people pitch up for free, or do you have to entice them?
Interestingly, everybody volunteers their time for free, even interstate people that we invite to speak.
And is that the same for you too? Do you have like any other moderators, John, besides yourself? Or?
Yeah, we have 4 moderators, and they also contribute for free. They contribute their time, and just the members contribute their knowledge. I think it's like that's part of what community is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do much content-led offline activity, or?
Yeah, actually, we even host our own conference. We did our first one last October, all focused on the subscription industry. That's our world. That's what we live and breathe. And we actually brought in speakers to Santa Monica. We brought in merchants, about 100 people. And in terms of content, it was all about subscription, focusing on retention, acquisition, everything related to that. So absolutely, in terms of takeaways from that conference, we created blog posts and then shared those out.
One of the interesting things is time and opportunity cost and money. How do you, we maybe start with you, John, how do you juggle time, opportunity cost, and money inputting into the Facebook group?
Yeah, I think being in business, you want to be able to measure everything. Running the Facebook community, I can't measure the impact, so I have to kind of trust my instinct with it. I spent a lot of my time there, and over the past 3 years, it's just felt good. So a lot of business people, like they're confused with that idea, but I just go with it. It feels great, so I just have to trust instinctively that it's a good use of my time to moderate and to seed and to connect people. And I can't put a number on it, but I know it's had the biggest impact on our brand.
I wish I could say the same with my leaders. It just feels good.
Yeah.
That's my KPI. Great, done.
Yeah.
Chathri, what about you? Obviously, marketing, it feels like you put a lot of effort into this as relationship building, as a marketing tool as well, in a very genuine way, but does it come at an opportunity cost for other activities, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many conferences we could potentially get involved in, and I know a lot of the partners out here, whether you're an agency or a tech partner, you have to really think about where you put your time and resources. So often for us, we look at, because we're only on Shopify, we don't support Magento and other platforms. So for us, we look into which conferences, will have Shopify merchants or Shopify partners, and then that's kind of how we think about ROI. And then also with our dinners, definitely harder to track the ROI for that. And often it ends up being a long lead process. So for example, we did a dinner in Los Angeles in December, about 40 people, more of a happy hour. And from there, we met a couple of merchants there and started a conversation, did 2 demos at their office. They happened to be in LA, so we got to do in person. And then from there, we actually connected with the Shopify team, did a couple more calls. Turns out, come April, they're now moving forward with Shopify Plus and Recharge. It's a pretty popular protein drink company that is meant for a developer-focused audience, if you can think of the brand. And they're going live with us in June. So it was really exciting to see that go from a dinner, just talking over wine and breaking bread, to now being a live Shopify Plus merchant with Recharge.
Yeah, I mean, you're virtually organize a conference every quarter, so it must come at some cost. How do you justify the time and the finance, I guess?
I think I'm really lucky in the sense that before I sort of joined Cal in the digital agency side of things, I had a PR and event management background. So I feel like even though our events are quite big, they're sort of on the smaller scale of what I had previously organized, so that's good. And I feel like as well, we've definitely gotten lots better at doing it. So we now have a team of people that organize it, so their responsibilities are sort of divided, and then we have like a really extensive list that we just refer to and iterate. And so I feel like each meetup that we've run, we've done something better every single time. So lifting talking about networking opportunities, we do lanyards now with printed names and industry and stuff like that, to help people to meet the people that they need to when they come to our events. So they're super useful, not only from the information point of view, but also from the networking point of view. And in terms of return on investment, like we obviously too, it feels really good every time we do an event, and we can't directly measure that dollar figure KPI at the end of it. But there's a couple of things that I've noticed recently, because we've been doing these events for so long, where either merchants started out as a really small merchant and then they've gotten bigger, and then they've come back to us for advice when they're a bigger client. Or we're just developing people who are brand ambassadors. So they're so pleased with the event and so pleased. Usually we talk to lots of merchants afterwards as well, and they almost become like little mini brand ambassadors for our businesses too.
John, do you run any kind of live stuff through your feed as well, or is it very much Q&A, question answer type?
There's a lot of questions that come through. We now have a digital marketer on our team, Timothy. He's here. He's over there. So he actually has started to do FB Lives with partners, with experts, and with merchants to kind of showcase stories. in a different format than just questions, and that's been great. I think I've always wanted to activate the group even more with video, and finally we have someone that can help us do that. So I'm thankful for that. But yeah. It's been, and if anybody wants to come on the Facebook group and get merchant attention, reach out to Timothy, because we're actively doing these every week now. So
looks very cool in his shades there, looking in this. But you also run some private communities as well. What was the motivation to start those? Was that, again, sort of self-interest in sharing or trying to eke out some knowledge from people in the same position as you?
Yeah,
or?
I'm just a big advocate of community. Like, it's just my medium. Like, some people are like podcasters, some people are video bloggers. I just feel like community is like what I love to do. And we do have a private store tasker expert community, which is really our experts and our partners that are connecting on a Slack channel. And that also has just brought magic to our store tasker platform. And the biggest surprise has been our merchants kind of benefit from the work getting done on the platform because the experts are collaborating in the back. And there's like tremendous value in that. And I'm looking for ways to communicate that better through our website. So, yeah.
I've been told that some people aren't always very nice on Facebook. How do you deal with?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you deal with negativity?
Facebook is Facebook. You can't, with a Facebook group, you can't please everyone, or else you're going to ruin the quality of your feed. So sometimes you have to not approve things, and sometimes you get messages that are not so nice.
Give us an example. What's the?
So many examples, but I won't give examples. What I'll say is that the positive, the outcomes, like the positive outcomes far outweigh these messages that I would potentially get every now and then. And that's how you have to see it. I speak to a lot of other group owners that they get just like discouraged from the way Facebook groups are set up. Yeah, and I think it's easy to get discouraged, but just look at what the upside is to running a community, and I think that's where I get the satisfaction.
Do you both take feedback from your meetups and events to iterate on them, or?
In terms of feedback, not as much. I mean, obviously, like we see certain people the same events over time. So they've asked us to do more. I mean, in terms of feedback. So hey, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this city? So yeah, absolutely. But it really honestly depends on what we're trying to accomplish and where we actually apply that feedback.
Yeah, same or?
We send out feedback forms to every single attendee and take that feedback on board. Sometimes we reach out to them to talk about it. I read them all. I'm like a feedback nerd.
Yeah, they say it's a gift. Cool. What are some of the unexpected things that have happened as a result of these activities? I think these, is there something that you had no concept would be an outcome of sort of building communities, good or bad? Kelly?
I don't know if it's like completely unexpected, but I think that there is a really big opportunity to grow a large community around Shopify and merchants, and I think it does stem from a couple of things. So it can be a lonely pursuit. People are constantly looking to learn and find more information from quality sources, and I mean, we've been surprised by how big the event has grown to. I mean, to the point where if I could find a bigger space for free, we'd probably have a bigger meetup, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm constantly surprised by how enthusiastic people are to come along and what good feedback in terms of the value of what they get out of it is.
Yeah, I would say for us, it's been great because the unexpected outcome is actually a lot of people in here are partners, but we're also friends. Like I said, we see often the same people at different conferences, events. With having them fly out to our meetups, us going to dinners with them in New York and all the cities in between. That's one, but also two, it's very much like a rising tides kind of outcome that we've seen happen where we've all started somewhere. Like I said, it was two people kind of running and hustling on these events, and now we have partners pitching in. And for us, they've seen benefits and ROI come out of attending our events or partnering with us and sponsoring. And for us, like that's so great to see. So it's not just taking a sponsorship amount. It's more like, what are you going to get out of it? So for us, we all win. So that's been great.
Yeah. I would say what's very cool is I always expected it to have an impact on my own business, but when I hear stories of how it's impacting merchants and other partners, I think that's extremely gratifying to me. in a really nice way. And the other cool thing is that I like to travel, and any city I land in, anywhere in the world, I can have a coffee or beer with a Shopify entrepreneur. I just have to tell them where I am, and I'll inevitably connect with one person. So that's also really special.
No more lonely merchant.
No more lonely merchant. No, I think I think it's important though. Like a lot of these people are building businesses on their own, so we don't have like typical lunch rooms to network with people. And often merchants or partners were surrounded by people that don't really understand what we're doing because we're kind of on the cusp of some things. So yeah, it acts as a lunchroom, and so do the offline events.
I think we've all tried to start communities, whether or by accident or with, actually plan them out. And it's kind of a lonely endeavor at first. That first time you do something, there's a couple of people there, the tumbleweed rolls through. How do you get over that? What keeps you going to try and make these things work?
I would just say consistency. So kind of going back to like, how do you even start to think about this as a partner? Even if you are a team of 4 or 5 or 6, it's just putting yourself out there consistently. Again, we started in London and Santa Monica, and we just didn't think too much about it. It's just starting and then doing another one and doing another one and then adding like a calendar. And so honestly, I would say consistency is something to think about, and not thinking too hard about what the content is in the beginning.
Would you say the same, Kelly? Or?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And also more to Chathri's point, you just constantly have to iterate and improve. So we've had people come to a meetup 18 months ago, then they come to one that we've done recently, and there's such a visible improvement, I think, each and every time. And I think it's just, the way that we manage starting new things or adding things into the calendar, because as a business owner, everyone can agree that time is so precious, right? So in order to add more, you need to find efficiencies consistently. So with the meetup particularly, but in the business in general, are just constantly driving to find efficiencies and shorten the time that everything takes every day.
How long would you say a typical meetup that you run now, what are the hours that you would put in as a team collectively?
I would say it still probably takes, I don't know, maybe a week.
Wow. Of one person's time or multiple?
That's for the whole team.
The whole team. Okay.
It's spread across a number of people now, but I think in full, it would be a week to organize it.
I'm interested with the online side as well. How did people find out about the group? Did you market the group as such, or was it just very, very organic?
Like at the beginning, I think I was like, I just love to curate content. So I was curating other experts and other partners' content, and then I was tweeting or getting at them at LinkedIn and saying, I shared your content on my group. And so that's how I got a lot of people in when nobody was listening. And then, I think that's how we marketed it. And I think just for us online, we just got in at the right time with the way Facebook was pushing groups, as I said earlier. So, sure. It's a lot of consistency. So I think I'll echo that, and just kind of sticking with it. I can add one thing, or maybe that question's coming later.
You can't see the question. So no, that's fine.
No, I think, just consistency and sticking with it. And marketing, a lot of people, it's just about sharing the platform, sharing the audience. Not being selfish with the audience, I think, is why it grew and why it has an impact today.
It strikes me, Chathri, that a lot of the success of the events that you do are with collaboration. It sounds like you seek out meaningful partnerships, and you benefit, they benefit, the merchants benefit. How do you start those conversations?
Ask for intros. So we definitely have a strong team on the Shopify Plus team who will just facilitate intros. Also to just hard or cold outreach. Hey, you know what? We're going to be in your city. Would love to do something with you guys. I mean, again, our first dinner was last January 2017. So it's pretty recent. It's not new. For us, it was just reaching out, saying this is what we're trying to do. And again, do you have the capacity? Is there interest for you? What the outcomes you seek? And if they align, then let's do it. And definitely mixing it up. So there's so many people who want to get involved, and not doing the same ones each time also helps.
For want of a better phrase, are you picky, or do you look for very, very strategic partnerships, obviously within a certain space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our own integrations, for example. So in terms of tech partners, it just makes sense for us to host it with someone like a Smile or a Klaviyo. And for us, often it has to align with similar merchants sometimes. for us, we do consumable goods, so fashion doesn't make a lot of sense for us to do some sort of fashion digital media event. So if that aligns in terms of the audience that we want to pull in, then 100%, it's pretty like an obvious win.
And in terms of attracting people to the meetups, Shopify helps a little bit, right? But you must, you tell me, do you do other outbound marketing to try and attract potential merchants?
We do. We definitely do a bunch of email marketing. We do a little bit of social marketing. We constantly talk about it when we're networking with people. It's always pretty front of mind in most of the conversations that we have. I mean, I've talked to people this week about sponsoring because obviously there's a lot of our partners here. And just in general sort of conversations with merchants or we're always looking for potential speakers because that's a massive thing, and probably one of the hardest is to lock in that high quality level of speaker for the events.
And do you, on your website and your kind of social accounts, do you push the fact that you are kind of curating this community, bring these people together? Is that part of the Working Party brand now?
It is. I mean, I think again, all business owners, finding the time to curate content and produce high quality content is a challenge. It's one of those things that sort of, there's all this client work going on, and then there's all the meetup organizing going on as well, and a bunch of other things. And so then I think what we've committed to doing this year is creating content out of the meetups. I mean, we do film them and put them up on a YouTube channel so people can access the content remotely or re-access it if they need to. But I definitely think there is a bunch more opportunities for us to create more content.
Yeah. I'd like to end before we go to the Q&A. Hopefully some people have submitted some questions. How do you respond to this notion that giving away your kind of trade secrets, this, telling people how your path to success or saying how your business has grown is bad for business? Because it is kind of counterintuitive in many ways. I mean, how would you?
You mean sharing this content and these trade secrets on our communities and in our communities? Yeah.
Why? Why are people telling you how to do their job?
Yeah. So sorry, just trying to get the question. So why would it be not good to do that?
Yeah, I think over the years we've met a lot of people who just don't get the concept of why you get up on stage and tell people how you grew your business, warts and all, and numbers, everything.
Yeah, I think it's not 50 years ago, right? We're all like, business back in the day was like everybody was kind of scared of competition, and now we're all thriving on partnerships. So we're all thriving on matching each other's skills to build value in the marketplace. So it's to our benefit to share what we're doing, what we're good at, and kind of try to link up in a serendipitous way with people. So yeah.
I totally echo that point. I think if it was 50 years ago, everybody's like, this is the status quo, this is what we do, and this is how we do it. I think these days people are always looking to get better at what they're doing. So even if you're delivering a talk about how you do something, like the project management guys who are just up here doing a talk about how they do stuff, if they redid that talk in 6 months' time, it would be different, right? So if you're constantly evolving, just because you're delivering a speech on how you do something, with the meetups, for example, they'll be different again in 6 months. And we'll be approaching them probably in a slightly different way with lots more content.
More people by the sounds of it.
Yeah, probably.
Anything to add?
I was just going to say that we've actually not had as much as that. If anything, we've shared more,
right.
And given back, because we've actually had a lot of partners come up to us and say, how did you do that event? How did you get people in the room or to this dinner? How do they RSVP? Why would people do that? And for us, we're happy to share. There's actually a couple new tech partners that are just brand new to Shopify Plus, and they're just curious. How did you start? And so for us, we'd be happy to share. We don't really have anything to lose by sharing what we've done or what our playbook is, for example. If anything, we have more to benefit out of that. Yeah.
So just before we move to the Q&A, final word. What if someone out there is thinking either starting a online or private community online or meetups or actually sort of putting their maybe marketing dollars towards kind of in-person events, what would you say?
I would say don't do it alone, because it can often seem daunting to try to organize the whole thing on your own. Definitely partner with at least one other company, whether it be an agency partner, tech partner, or Shopify Plus. They're more than happy to help. Definitely, add your contacts, your common contacts, or share contacts. And then obviously the one thing that we haven't talked about is like budget. Money and time is hard. So, coming to an agreement on like how much you're willing to spend, often it might be a bigger budget, like $5,000, or it could be as simple as $500, but even splitting that can make it less of a burden for everybody.
Kelly?
I think there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. Like, if for us, it's almost as difficult to organise a meetup for 40 people as 400, right? So you need to, from the very beginning, look at it as a professional endeavour and do the documentation, make the lists, ask for things. Like if you want a specific, beer sponsor or whatever, there's definitely no harm in getting out there and asking for help. And I think that's probably how we have grown it so quickly and, managed to keep it at a really, really high quality, is we just go out and ask for what we want.
It's community, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Final word?
I would say for online communities, like there are a lot of online communities out there, so you don't necessarily have to start your own. Some people can benefit just as much or more by just getting involved in one that's out there. And I know a lot of businesses really benefiting from our community, like to the bottom line. So, it's a big endeavor, but if there's something out there that speaks your language, just join it and get involved and be a speaker or be a contributor to it.
Great. Okay, we have 15 minutes for Q&A. I don't know if we have any questions there. Thank you kindly. Oh, wow, we do. Okay. Caitlin's asked questions. Who's on my list? Unbelievable. I'll start with Caitlin's. Why not? Favoritism. Where could Shopify be doing a better job supporting the partner community?
They could give us more money.
More money, Caitlin.
Yeah. I mean, I think for us, because we run such a big meetup, it's a struggle. The budget is always a struggle, right? So there definitely is that. I mean, I think they do a good job of supporting us in other ways, though. Like, there is definitely a big partner community in Australia, and they're definitely very supportive. Like, we have almost every single Shopify employee in Australia come to every meetup that we run. So,
It's all about free beer.
Yeah.
How about with online? Anything we can do there?
Well, I love when Shopify team members get involved in the online community. I think, I think for partners, you gotta don't wait for permission to start something like a community. So we're all looking for these frameworks or this permission. So I would say Shopify is doing a great job. Like, they're planting the seed, giving frameworks that are way more than what's out there for other companies. So yeah, I think they're doing a great job of supporting people like us.
No complaints here, Caitlin. No complaints.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. They've been great, from promoting some of our events via email, via Twitter, liking stuff, and also helping us plan certain events. The Plus team has been great, and the Shopify team in general.
Got one here. How do you think about diversity when building community? How does that play a part?
Sorry, say that again.
How do you think about diversity when building community?
I think that it was really interesting hearing Toby and the guys talk about diversity in Canada. I think, Australia is very similar to that. And I think that different to other tech communities, Shopify is naturally very diverse. Like, there are a lot of, especially starting up businesses, there are a lot of women doing that. It's a completely diverse community, which is also really refreshing. And I think that's one of the things that probably drives us to keep doing this, is seeing how many different types of people turn up to the events.
Chathri?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. In terms of diversity, it's getting out of your comfort zone. So for us, getting out of LA. Like, we did an event in Atlanta, knew nothing about it, but was so happy to meet the merchants there. And diversity in terms of small, big, large, like for us, the community out there was great. They're tighter knit. We work with Nicely Built. It's a partner agency from Shopify, and for them, they expose us to a whole new community. So I would say for us, it was diversifying, again, geographic reach.
Yeah, great. Let's have a look. Jonathan, one for you. How do you manage the time you spend moderating your group? So maybe that's a figure, a daily figure.
So we have moderators that help us now. I have a lot of help, but I love it. So I just kind of, I don't have my phone on me now, and I'm used to checking.
So you actually have it on the phone as well?
Yeah, I have it on the phone. Sometimes I'll turn it off, but I enjoy it. I think I spend too much time doing it, but I think the passion is why it is what it is, why it's so vibrant. But I'll eventually need to scale back on that. I'm not good at it, at managing my time with the group, yeah.
Can you give an indicator, maybe on a daily basis? Or?
Oh, scary. I don't know.
Probably.
Probably.
You don't want to admit, that's fine.
Yeah, it's probably a couple of hours a day, which
okay.
is, yeah.
Wow. Let's have a look. Maybe one for Kelly and Chathri. How do you choose speakers to balance between partners and sponsors and useful contents for merchants in order not to get the agenda full of pitches?
Yep. Okay. Often when we do a sponsored event with other partners, we won't have them be the speakers, because then it almost comes off as inauthentic because they've kind of paid to have a spot. So for us, it depends on the meetup, but here's an example. We did a food and beverage focus event in Oakland in March. And for us, we focused on actually getting industry veterans who had experience that weren't even from the Shopify world, but had a wealth of knowledge. So for us, it was, really thinking about what we wanted to accomplish, and then actually getting people within the community who, again, weren't sponsors, but could add value. Lawrence from the Shopify team always talks about what's in it for the merchant. So for us, do they really want to hear from Recharge, or would they actually want to hear from a merchant who's already done it?
So do you theme those events? Are they themed around a very specific problem? Is that how you would?
Yeah, so for us, that was a food and beverage event. Other times have been focused on just marketing and marketing automation and what people have done there. So that's been helpful, but it can't be too specific, because then your audience, when they look at the event info, this isn't for me. So keeping it a little bit focused, but general enough that you'll get the attendees you want in.
So you never do how to start a subscription-based business?
Well, we did do our own conference in October, so that is focused on subscription, yep.
I guess that's slightly different.
So when we run the events, we also have a bunch of rules around them. So we don't invite sponsors to speak, which is a strict rule. We don't do any sales pitches from businesses because people find that super boring, I think, in general. What we have done before is present where we've had people come from companies who want to sort of pitch to the audience. We've had them run a case study, or we have a set of speaker guidelines and rules, so they know that they can't just come to pitch their business. They have to, write a case study or interview somebody else, or potentially all of them actually have to give a how-to as part of their speech. So it's actually actionable tips on how to do stuff. It's not just airy-fairy sort of information that people can't take away and go and implement into their business immediately to affect some change.
And do you have that rule book now because of bad experiences in the past, or was that something from the off that you just...
No, I think we always really saw the meetups from an empathetic merchant point of view. I mean, if you're going to spend time, struggling through peak hour traffic to get to an event immediately after work, when you're exhausted, probably, yeah. You would probably want to produce some pretty decent content. And I think that the content really is key to driving how big our meetups have become.
Great. I think there's a couple in here that we may have answered. One was around how do you find merchants and partners in your geographic areas. I think we touched on that with the help of the Shopify partner community and Plus and various other people, and just reaching out to people in similar complementary businesses. I think, did we answer this one? Some advice to start to create an online community, WhatsApp, Facebook group, Slack, obviously your Facebook, but any...
Yeah, I think Facebook groups are still really healthy. There are a lot of Shopify communities, but if you don't find one that speaks your language, Facebook groups are still the way to go. There's some future-looking things like Telegram and WhatsApp, but I think starting a Facebook group is still a really good idea. If you have something that you can connect people with emotionally, even a niche within Shopify. But there are 130 Shopify Facebook groups now, so really? plus. So so I encourage you to look at them and join one and contribute, or start your own if you don't see one that fits your spirit, I guess.
We have a great one for Kelly, but maybe you could answer whoever posed the question afterwards about working with your husband.
But I've met so many businesses this week, though, that are like a husband and wife combo.
So maybe whoever asked that, come and find Kelly afterwards. I'm sure she's got some interesting insights there. We've got some other good ones coming in. Wow, okay, maybe not that one. How long does it usually take for a community to be successful? Are there any markers on that, or is that something that there is no marker for?
For us, it's size, right? So I think we've definitely tried to host the biggest and best Shopify meetup in APAC. That's our KPI.
So what was the question?
Timeframes, I guess it's maybe slightly different, but you do run a conference, so is that something that you would say, we want 100 people, 200 people? What does success look like for something bigger like that?
Yeah, definitely 100 people. Anything below that just seems like a lot of time for not enough people. So 100 people for a conference. In terms of a meetup, we probably aim for 75 to 100. And again, we don't have a full list of people we'd like to invite, so that's why it's so helpful to have other partners to like expand your reach. And in terms of the dinner, I would say we usually do between 14 and 20 people to keep it close, intimate, good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say online, I think when you're not having to seed the content on a daily basis, and when the community is kind of seeding itself, that's I think that's a success metric for online communities.
Right. This is quite interesting. Does anyone, I guess it's around the timing of events, particularly offline events. This person's asked, anyone run meetups in the morning or at lunchtime or at the weekend? They tend to be evenings, of course.
We've never done the morning, except for the conference, which is a day-long event. Definitely Thursdays are great for evening meetups. We do usually 6 to 9, 6 to 6:30 is networking, 6:30 to 7:30 is a panel. Anything longer than 45 minutes, you get people's eyes glaze over. So then after that, you can kind of get a cue to, okay, let's get back to networking again. But definitely the evenings, never done a lunchtime thing yet.
And is networking just literally people chatting in a room? Do you do structured stuff? Or?
Yeah, it's pretty much open, free flow, ad hoc. Yeah.
So Thursdays, okay. What about you?
We're similar. So we do Wednesdays and we do 6 till 6:30 networking. Then we try and do the talks within an hour.
Quite early then.
Yeah. I think we try and get people straight after work, and then obviously we do food and drinks during that networking session. Then we do the talks. We try and keep the speaker talks to 15 minutes plus a Q&A, and then we do further networking, and the speakers usually stay on for that portion of the event as well.
Brilliant. Here's a good one, and it could apply to both offline and online. How do you find topics that are interesting to people at different stages of their growth, small and big businesses? Is that factor in, or is it just it's an interesting topic?
I think we try and find. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think we try and find things that are quite topical. So obviously with the changes to Facebook and the tracking pixel and whatnot, it made a whole bunch of sense to get them to come and speak and do a how-to around that, and also answer some audience questions. But I think the things that our attendees always really like to see is merchants who are willing to talk about how they scaled their business in honest, actionable terms. So for example, we had an activewear brand come and speak at the last meetup from a digital marketing perspective and from a growth perspective, and it was a Q&A between the digital marketing manager and the owner of the business. And I mean, they've scaled up from nothing to millions of dollars of turnover in a very short period of time. And they've been one of our best speakers in the sense that they were super honest about sharing exactly how they did that. It was basically a playbook on how they managed to grow their audience.
Brilliant.
And every single time, attendees love that kind of content.
I think you are going to say something, John.
Online, I think online the topics in our community are kind of led by the merchants. Like the merchant problems are kind of like what leads the content in the community. Marketing is just by far the biggest problem merchants are coming up with in the group. Marketing questions, Facebook ad questions, just getting over that hump. But I also have like a Google Alerts on the Shopify keyword, and I kind of follow management on Twitter, and I'll just kind of curate that and put into the group. So that kind of helps it keep it alive.
So you're kind of fueling the conversation.
Yeah, when we need to. Yeah.
I was going to say marketing usually ends up being like the most popular topic. So we'll basically focus in on maybe one aspect of that, or even automation has been pretty popular lately, just given that all the tools are out there with Shopify workflows, and many of the partners that we work with also have their own automation tools. So focusing in on kind of what's happening in the tech side of things usually tends to drive what we talk about.
Brilliant. We've got 1 minute left. Open the floor to you guys. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I'll start. I think if you're not part of the Shopify Entrepreneurs Group on Facebook, please join. We'd love to have you there, especially as partners. We need partners to kind of help out with the large amount of merchant questions, and it's a real opportunity for many of you to capture business and build your authority. So I invite all of you guys to join.
Just great socks as well. Tap him up for some socks. Kelly?
I think if you're interested in running a meetup and haven't taken the steps to do so, it's something that you should just start doing. And I think that also if you're asked to speak at a meetup or be involved in the community in general, like I definitely think a lot of people sort of hold back because they're a bit like there's always a fear of doing new stuff, right? So whether it's talking, organizing stuff, putting yourself out there, I think the sooner that you start, the sooner it will be successful.
Yeah, I would echo that. Just start and carve out budget, and that'll kind of force you to do it. Also, to just start throwing dates on the calendar and block it out and build yourself up into that event. So put something on the calendar and commit.
Commit.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, all three of you, for your time. And it's been a real privilege to chat before this and join this Q&A as well. So thanks again. That's Unite, folks. Yeah. Thanks all for coming. I would also like to embarrass my colleague Kim, who's just given me the look, who's worked tirelessly putting all these tracks together. Stand up, Kim. Stand up. Stand up. Kim. Thank you. She will hate me for that. Thanks, everyone. It's been an amazing few days, and we'll see you next year.